Always doing something before the show start. Always got some snappy little banter. Always got something crazy to say. People who sitting there just waiting for the show to start. They're like, "Oh, he already talking? The show already started? What's going on?
We live already. You already go ahead, keep on talking.
Right. Always catch us off guard. Always catch us off guard. Okay. All right.
Go look like a deer. Go look like the deer in the headlights. Just be like this.
Are we live?
Yes. We live, man. We are live.
Cool.
All right. We're not gonna belabor the hour. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night to those wherever you are in your respective countries. Welcome to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. I'm your host, Charles Dixon, and yes, I am here with Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
Sam? Good. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. You know, it's good to see when the man can break the the stereotypes of being late. You know, that's.
Wait a minute. Hold up. The only reason why I am late for anything is because I had some unforeseen circumstances take place. That's what I'm trying to say.
So other than that, it ain't me. It's not me, right?
Yeah, it's not me. It's usually something crazy. Today, I mean, okay. So earlier this week, I had some issues with my PC or whatever like that. So I had to come up with the backup system. My backup system is in place. You can't even tell I got a backup system on. You can't even tell my backup system is on. That's how good we got it right now. So don't even worry about me being late.
Don't try to come for you. Don't try to come for you.
Don't come for me. Don't come for me.
All right, fine. I'll give you a break on that. Okay.
Whatever, bro.
Well, all right, sir. Today, well, first, hello everybody. You see you guys coming on into the room. Adam, do you have anything specific you want to say? Before we get going.
I mean, only thing I would say is continue to watch us, watch this space. Definitely, if you're enjoying the show, definitely give us a thumbs up, give us a like, and share it with your family and friends. I guarantee you, something is going to help you. Something's going to absolutely bless you. Something will definitely help you up out of what you're in. We're just offering some good, godly wisdom and counsel so that you can make it successfully in life. That's what I'm saying. So share us and like us as much as you can.
Okay. Anyway,
whatever. Ain't that just what you just told me to say? Don't act like you just tell me to say.
Sabotage
me under the bus.
Sabotage him. Okay, look.
Wait, you don't sabotage me. He just told me to say that. Are you serious?
All right. So today we are going to discuss. We're going to come from a slightly different perspective. We're going to talk about basically the three, I guess, actionable areas most relationships find themselves in. This is just, of course, I come up with my perspectives, Adam. This is kind of how I see this landscape, right? I see it sort of coming to a perspective where, let's see, it would appear that in most cases we are, let's see, I have this. So we're basically in a position where we are actually feeling that we are, what do you call it, convinced, like meaning the person that we have found, discovered, found us, however you make it, you feel like that person kind of, of course there is no such thing as a perfect thing, but you feel like that person hits on all cylinders. You feel like this is great. We get along, good, bad, or indifferent. We simply flow, right? We flow. There's no judgment between us. Things just seem to fall in place, even if we're not heavily trying to. Then there is what I call cornered. So when you think of the word cornered, it puts you in the mindset of somebody who feels like they're backed into a corner. Your back is against the wall. Maybe in a case like that, you've oversold the relationship prematurely. Sometimes we're like, this is it. I found the person. And you go on this promo tour to everybody's family and friends and social media. And heck, it even goes as far as sometimes we take it all the way into marriage. And starting to feel like, hey, I know I'm digging this person. I know we're committed, but this is beginning to feel like something I didn't sign up for. right?
Okay. Okay.
What bad or indifferent, and that's kind of how we kind of go with that. And I'll circle back with some other parts of that. And then
Yeah.
the last one is what I refer to as the gray area. The
Mhm.
gray area to me is where we find ourselves, we get into a situation, maybe we've had our fill of some relationships or marriages, and we're just to a point where we're just like, look, as long as the person is XYZ, it's okay for now. I'm not going to complain. I'm here. Basically, you're coasting. But I like to refer to it as a word that I use in another chapter that I wrote in another book called The Placeholder. And I
Uh,
look at the gray area as placeholding.
got it.
It's kind of like in other words, you may like some parts of it, some things about the person, but
Mhm.
not enough to put them on the main stage. You get my
Ah,
drift? It's like you're
yeah.
existing in the gray. It's like an area where you quite came to the light, but you're staying in the back a little bit.
Right.
So before we get going further into that, what comes to mind when you hear about some of this?
Well, okay, so for me, when you're talking about the whole idea of being convinced about a person in terms of them being for you, I think one of the things that comes to my mind is the fact that I am persuaded, I'm swayed, and I'm satisfied that this
Mm,
is my person. Not only that, but I'm also persuaded, swayed, and satisfied that this person is for me. And so in terms of me being convinced, I'm sold on the idea that we're supposed to be together. I don't have to negotiate. I'm not sitting around trying to conduct an investigation about this person. I have come to the point where I am convinced and persuaded that this person and that I am, we're both together in this thing together. You know what I'm saying? And I
yeah.
think it's at this point that you begin to have those conversations about a full on commitment in terms of us going the distance or what have you. When it comes to cornered, oh, cornered is a little tricky here because yeah, you okay. So now we're in it and we're committed to each other. But now I'm starting to feel like you're not all that you advertised yourself to be. You're
Mm,
not, you're not what you presented yourself as. Your representative actually misrepresented you. And now I'm left with a bill of goods that don't quite add up to what you promoted yourself as. And so
sold.
now I'm
Yeah.
feeling trapped. I'm feeling like
Mm,
I don't have any other options, if you will, in terms of what to do now, because now I'm starting to see signs of the fact that you ain't who you said that you were. You know what
wow.
I'm saying? And I'm like, nah, I don't know about this right here. This a little shady. It's a
Yeah.
little sketchy right here. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now I gotta do some questioning about what's happening here or what has happened. And I
Yeah.
think the last part of the gray is really interesting to me because it makes me feel like okay, we're in this thing. Nothing is really happening. Nothing is really going on, which is actually kind of a dangerous place to be in because
Okay.
we're not regressing in terms of retreating, but we're not progressing either in terms of moving
Mm,
forward and advancing. We're kind of like almost in a state of suspended animation where nothing is happening.
okay.
And I'm kind of like in the middle of this thing in terms of trying to figure out and navigate, is this what I want? And is it all that I am supposed to have? Or am I going to settle for what I have right now
Mm,
and not struggle anymore with it in terms of that's how I'm seeing the gray aspect of it because now
yeah.
it's almost as if I'm vacillating between am I going to go forward or am I going to leave from this point on?
Yeah.
And so that whole gray area is very nebulous. It's ambiguous. We don't know what's happening because nothing is happening.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I would say more times than not, that's probably the most common position,
really.
the settling. And it may
Wow.
not be, I mean, we may not be openly announcing that this is what's happening, but our actions are showing that I'm just kind of teetering in a safe circle. Because really,
Mm,
if you're in the gray, you're not moving forward. You're not necessarily retreating. You're just
right.
you're stewing, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
you're
when
kind of
someone
stuck in place.
Yes, and when people the dark side of stewing is we think of stewing in the sense of something being prepared to be consumed, right? But
Right.
stewing is also pondering, like it's the manipulation ground. It's like
Okay.
you're sitting there and you're thinking while you're stewing, okay, this person is this, it's cool, I'm comfortable, but I don't know how committed I can remain to this. Or if
Mm,
this other bus comes along, would I take the transfer and go there, or would I stay where I am? You know what I'm
okay.
saying? 'Cause if
Okay.
you think about it, if you're not convinced, your dealing relationship situationship is fluid.
Okay.
If a person is not convinced, then they're not sold. And if
Right.
they're not
Yeah.
sold, they can be another salesman can give their pitch, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
depends on what the person is looking for, then there you go with that. And
Mm,
so that's why I keep getting the mindset of the placeholder when I think of the gray area, because it's like it's a brutal thought when you think of it. But I
mm,
think that's why if you're the person that's not consciously doing the place holding, because in
mhm.
most cases it's not two people doing it, it's usually one.
Okay.
One person
Right.
is
I hear you just
unsuspecting,
one.
one person is looking at it with full glasses, right? And
Right.
so you have to be honest with yourself and say, I don't think this is something that feels like it is invigorating, or it is growing into something. It
Right.
feels like I've been put into a closet and the door was locked, and you've been told, I come back and give you your food at 6 o'clock. Right? It's like
Wow.
you're
Wow.
kept in a box. I'm gonna come back and take you on your date, and then we're gonna
Okay.
go right on back to so and so and so and so. Stay in the box. Don't move. You know what I'm saying? So it
Wow.
puts you in that mindset like there. And when I think of, let's see, if we step back over to the corner
Mhm.
position, the thing that comes to mind is regret. When you think of somebody feeling cornered, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a relationship, whether it's an engagement, it's like I said before, it's something that you feel you have put out there strongly. Because sometimes I hear stories of people that do some things very aggressively, and it'll have everybody initially floored, like, oh, that was so sweet. See, good people do exist, and oh my God, this is wonderful. And then something really left field or crazy will show
Mhm.
up. And you'll be like, well, I didn't see that coming. Or how did that happen? And
Right.
that's an example of someone overselling a situation that they haven't properly digested to
Okay.
understand whether or not they really, really want to be there or not,
Right.
which is
Right.
selfish, because on the other part of it, you are dragging another person into your excitement initially. And if that person was anticipating what you're offering, they're all in. But
Mm.
then now, they're in 9 out of 10, they're still all in. And you're the person that's teetering on the fence mentally.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
I
there's
got you.
commonality between corner and placeholding, because
Yeah.
one person holds the key in both situations.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
but let me just let's bounce this off the gray for a minute. And so
Okay.
when it comes to the gray area, and I think sometimes I think some of us don't want to admit, but I think when it comes to some relationships that we have been in, we have to be honest with ourselves and say that we have on some level settled for what
Mm,
was there and
yes.
not really ask for or even expect what we're actually worth in relationships.
Mm,
And I think because what happens is because we become so desperate to have companionship, to be with somebody, that we end up taking down what we should be getting from a person, and we settle for anything that we can get our hands on.
mm,
And so now we're kind of like sitting back in this position of, well, I'm in a relationship. That's the best that I can expect. That's the best that I can get. I guess that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's
and you're in a relationship where there is no fulfillment. You
Wow.
don't feel fulfilled in this relationship. No progress or advancement is taking place in this relationship. You're
Yeah.
not even happy. You're
Yeah.
not even happy. You're just existing in something that does not satisfy you. And you have settled in a place that you really shouldn't be in because you're not getting what you're actually due. It's almost as if, you sold yourself for pennies on the dollar for something that you could just have,
Right.
but it
So
doesn't really have any real value to you.
so that puts me in the mind of people showing up, like we said on one of our previous shows, you're showing up not quite in a place to entertain real relationship.
That's
Because
true.
sometimes, when we find ourselves in positions that we necessarily know that in our hearts it's not where we want to be. And like you said, so we have to ask ourselves, how did I get here? And in
Right.
some cases, all of us come from different areas. You have some people who may have been fresh out of a marriage, fresh out of a bad relationship. Heck, some people have been in some situations that have been so damaging that it has them in therapy or in
Yeah.
sessions or recent sessions. And, that's serious, right? It's something,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
realistic thing that happens. But the thing is, the irony about all three of those examples is each person in those situations still want relationship,
Right.
companionship.
Right.
So without telling them, without someone saying, "Hey, you should wait," because in most cases, people in those people's circles have at some point, if someone's close enough, they may ask them and say, "Hey, are you sure you good with going back out to do this and this?" And in most cases,
Right.
"Oh, I'll be fine. It's good. I'm going to do this. Just have me some fun for now, or just go and do this." And then you find yourself when how you know how you're showing up is you can measure it by what you're accepting. See,
That's
the
true.
thing, the way what you accept reflects how the state that you're in when you show up. Because if
Mm.
you show up, and I'm not saying there's a such thing as being perfect, but if you show up at a decent place in your life and that you're good with you, or you're on top of your standards and you know what you're looking for and what you don't, and then when you see it going in a different direction, you take a different position. You're like, yeah, I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't think we're on the same page. And if you're not
Right.
able to work outside of that
Yeah.
conversation, not being on the same page, then that's when somebody needs to make a decision, because
Yeah.
this is stalling, right? It's not going
No,
anywhere.
no, real talk. And I've always believed that when you get into relationships, particularly when you're first starting out, that you ought to be willing to say, hey, this is not working out the way I thought it would.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I think a
Yeah.
lot of us are afraid of being able to say what's actually on our hearts and mind,
Yeah.
because for whatever reasons, we think that rejection is the automatic response. But
Yes.
listen,
Yeah.
if I'm going to be in a relationship with you, why shouldn't I expect the best out of the relationship? If I'm giving my best and I'm doing all that I need to do to make this the absolute thing, then
Yeah.
why aren't you on the same level reciprocating exactly what I'm giving to you?
Wow.
Why should I settle? And this is the question that we have to pose to people. Why
Yeah.
should you settle if you're doing all that you know to do? If you're coming in and you're putting you're rolling up your sleeves and you're coming in to do the work to make the relationship successful and to make it work the way it's supposed to work, why isn't the other person contributing just as much as you are? Why should
Well,
I settle for less than what you're giving me? Come on.
Well, that's because a lot of times, if we're being honest, the options are few. Meaning, don't get me wrong, there's
Okay.
always a body or somebody in your sphere that's like, hey, whatever that case is, trying to give you some play or whatever.
Mhm.
There's always somebody, male or female, trying it. The thing is, when I say there's slim pickings, so to speak, because although you may find the physical beings, you don't find the realistic fits for who you are. Like
Mhm.
they don't get you. They don't. It's not something that clicks, and things like that. I'm not going to tease on you, but seriously, when you entertain. No, it's for real. When you first connected to your person,
Yeah.
there was something to you that was like, hey, and from that point on, the chemistry started to click, 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 and you felt as though I
Yeah.
think I'm in a good place, and you
Yeah.
took that in hand. And so
Yeah.
I'm using that to say a lot of people out here can certainly connect with people or meet, but it's definitely not a thing where you run into a lot where people feel as though the person that they might think is cute or handsome, that it totally aligns, but
Mhm.
they're a person that can keep them company. And
Okay.
that companion component is huge
Yeah.
because it's just like, so come watch a movie with me, or let's go do this together, let's go have a bite to eat. And sometimes anything trumps you sitting there doing it by yourself. You know,
Okay.
it's just, it
Okay.
trumps it. So that's where the whole settling piece comes into play. Because see, people are like, I don't want to be by myself, so,
I got it.
I'm gonna do something out here. You'll be surprised all the different posts I see. People say all kinds of things that they either, I mean, I know sometimes they may be bluntly posting it, but
Mhm.
if they're just thinking they're posting it, the overall message to me when I see it, it says, please see me, please contact me because I'm
Wow.
tired of being alone. That's what I see when I see some of the posts that I see. So,
Right.
I think a lot of people are trying to express themselves in ways to draw attention or draw attraction that they feel that they may like. And then of course you go through this whole vetting process, which is tiresome.
Mm.
People are trying to
Okay.
vet all these people, and you're just like, who got time for all of that? You just kind of
Right.
want things to fall in place. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Maritza says, she said something that's very interesting, and I think we can. I think it hits
Okay.
right where we're going with this. She says, not only do we settle, we get accustomed to it, and it becomes a
Mm,
norm. Hey,
yes.
I mean, but that's
Yeah.
so true because it
Yeah.
becomes a part of our natural behavioral environment. It's something that now that used to be abnormal now has
Yeah.
become the norm. And this is how we learn how to move in and out of it in terms of
Yeah.
settling for what we're actually worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you got to wake up and you got to be
Yeah.
able to say, I'm actually worth more than what I'm getting.
Yeah. I think it's the
You know?
belief system factor. I think a lot of times we know that we're in our hearts, we know that we are deserving of the real.
Mhm.
But because real seems so non-existent or far off in the distance, we learn to live with the neutral.
Mm.
We learn to just live with what's neutral. It's
Yeah.
it's not it's not bad. It's not
Right.
so and so. It's
Right.
definitely not what I know that I'm ultimately worth.
Yeah.
But it's neutral, so
It's
I can
neutral.
live here. And I
Wow.
think that's where we go. That's you look
Yeah.
at them. But here's the unique thing about the car. I'm gonna tell you something. I noticed this like when I'm driving my car. Let's just say if I go through a drive-through. Nowadays these cars are so sensitive. Soon as you get close to anything, it
Oh
keeps
yeah.
making noise. It's
Yeah. The
going
beat
off.
is going on. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
point I'm going with this is causing you, when you're making forward progress, things are happening to cause you to pay attention, right?
Right.
But I notice, I keep saying, man, this is making too much noise. Well, I noticed lately when I shift my car into neutral, it goes silent. Nothing
Uh,
happens, no more noises. So what that means is the car is like, okay, we're settling here because we can't move. We just
right.
coasting. We can't move.
Right.
As soon as
Right.
you put it back into to drive, you're now
Drive.
back to being accountable. So
Nice.
the drive
Yeah.
represents being accountable.
Right.
Neutral is neutral. It's shifting.
Right.
Nothing
Yeah. You're not
happens.
going anywhere.
You're not going there, but it's comfortable because you're inside the car. You're inside your nice car, whatever that is. You're there, but you're
Right.
not moving. You know
You're
what I'm
not
saying?
moving.
So yeah.
Wow. Nice. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
let me
That's it.
cash out 2302. Yeah. No, so listen, no, I'm kidding. But when we back up from all of that,
Mhm.
convinced is, I'm curious to get your take because you talked about the convinced part earlier.
Yeah.
But besides the overarching things of this is what we feel when we are entertaining something that we are convinced. For the people that may not totally get it, what from and try to speak from your own self. You know, you got to say your situation, but
Right,
what are
right.
some of the things that so people can get it that makes someone feel like, hey, I'm really good where I am? What does that look like? What does that look like to say I'm convinced of where
Hmm.
I am? I'll piece and you give yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so convinced for me, if to be honest with you, I think it is a moment. I think it is a moment, but it's not just a moment. I
Yeah.
think it's also through the through the relationship itself, you come to recognize and realize this person really has my best interest at heart. Now, and I know some people say, let me just kind of back up here. I know some people say, love at first sight does not exist, falling in love, that's crazy or whatever like that. But I
Okay.
really do believe that there is a moment, a singular moment where you click and it clicks in here, it clicks in your head.
Instantaneously.
Yeah,
Instantaneously.
it clicks in your mind and it
Okay.
clicks in your heart. And you come to the realization that this is your person.
Yeah.
Okay. From
Mm.
that singular moment, we move forward through the passage of the relationship. And as the days go on, we are more and more persuaded, swayed, and satisfied that this
Yeah.
is the person for me. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's not to say that you're not going to have issues. It's not to say that you're not going to have problems. That's not to say that you're not going to have certain types of disagreements that happen between the two of you. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. That's a part of the relationship experience. But what I am saying is that regardless of all of those things, regardless of all of those things happening and transpiring, you become convinced and persuaded that this this chick is all right. She
Yeah.
got she ride or die. She got me. Okay, she's not gonna leave me hanging. I mean, look,
Yeah.
listen. The reality is, again, like I said, you're gonna have ups and downs with the relationship. But even in the down moments, you are still convinced, and this is key. Even in the down moments, you're still convinced that person is for you. And this is how
Mm.
you really know that that person is on your side. That regardless of how down you get, they still like, look, you get on my nerves, you're driving me crazy, but I'm still here for you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And that's got to be the way it is that it comes from us. That regardless of how difficult it becomes, I'm not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. This
Yeah.
adds to the to me being convinced that this is it right here. This is it. And again,
Yeah.
it's again, like I said, it starts from that singular moment. That
Yeah.
singular moment where you go, oh yeah, this is it. And then from
Yeah.
that moment, it progresses forward and it begins
Mm.
to accumulate. And you go, this is the one. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So, so for me, when I see convinced or when I feel I'm convinced in
Mhm.
something that I'm in,
Yeah.
to me, it's like convinced looks like you get to see risk being taken in action, right? When
Okay.
when people are jumping out there on behalf of the both of you
Yeah.
unselfishly, because
Okay.
nowadays one of the hardest things to get past, and I know that everybody's a work in progress, but I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's hard to ignore when you're with a person and all you can hear in your interactions with that person is all things self-preserving for them. It's
Okay.
just always, how is
Yeah.
this going to fix and work for me? To
Right.
me, a convincing is when the person is risking it to look out for you, not even being sure all the way that you got them, but they are
Right.
convinced enough to say, I'm in this with you, so I'm
Yeah.
taking a risk here to
Okay.
do this. Then
Yeah.
also convincing is in this world that we live in today, it's so busy and so sporadic and all over the place. It's hard to deal with someone and not necessarily feel the outer outlying spirits of others
Okay.
entertaining in the circle.
All right.
Meaning having someone to make you feel like it's just you and them is a
Right.
gem.
Yeah.
Even if you're not even
Yeah.
married, but you're in a relationship and the person wake up or go to sleep checking for you, They first thing in the morning they calling you. You all right? You good? They care about your health.
Okay.
They want to know about this. What did you eat? You do these. These are things that show that, I mean, heck, if somebody is not all in, you must be really good at it, playing the game, right? But these are the things that show a person that I'm checking for you, mind, body, and spirit, not just physical or what you can do for me today and what we're gonna do. And so when you find that, it makes you get to a place where you're like, oh, I can ease now. I don't have to be such on guard. I don't have to be, in this position to react if I feel the foolishness. You just feel like, okay, so me and this person is doing this. Yeah. And we're going to take this walk and push forward. It's not an easy thing to come across, but when you have it, you need to hold it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not an easy thing, especially today,
Yeah. I mean, that convinced thing, I think, again, it did, just like you said, hopefully as where you have become convinced, the hope is that at some point in time, your guard has come down and you have allowed yourself to be vulnerable to this person. And I think this has to do with the risk that you were talking about, because for each and every one of us, it's always a risk to be vulnerable with that person, because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's the truth.
And that's real talk. That's real talk.
That's
right
scary.
There.
That's scary.
We don't know. We don't know how they're going to respond, but hopefully our trust with them will be paid off to the point where we feel safe with them, that they make us feel safe, trusting ourselves, trusting our vulnerability with them, and that they're not going to come and try to exploit what we have shared with them in terms of who we are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a scary place. I mean, because all of us are walking around with emotional suitcases. And so the point is, you want to be able to lay your suitcase down. And even if your person say, hey, babe, I'm looking at your suitcase. What's the code? Well, baby, it's 2, 3, and 1. But I'm just telling you, it's some stuff in there. It's a beautiful feeling to be able to say, here's the combination. Go ahead, without feeling like while she's in there, while he or she is in the suitcase, they go like this. Okay, I can. Ooh, what is this? Snapping pictures so that they can stab you with it later if it don't work. You know what I'm saying? So that's a scary thing in today's world, where you feel like what I show you or what I allow with you doesn't become the lining of my casket. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that we have to think about, because nowadays it's like you could be you're willing to be vulnerable to a fault or to a degree, and sometimes that thing can play with your mind, and you don't even question the person that you're with. It'll make you kind of question, like, are they loyal? What happens if this? And I think a lot of this comes because of this time that we're living in. And I was talking to someone about how nowadays, if we're all honest, to me, social media is considered, and all things online and social media is considered the matrix, right?
Okay.
And once you plug into that matrix at all, you are potentially capable of being affected by it. And affected by it means all of the things that come from it, all of the little closets and drawers and DMs and little things that lie there, right? If you're not careful how you navigate, or if you're not careful the time that you entertain it, like let's just say you had a blowout argument, and you still love your person, but you had a blowout argument, and now you're on there, and then you happen, maybe, I don't know about anybody else, but there's always these auto bots, the fake AI bots that people send you real and all this kind of stuff. You got all that going on, and then you have real people that try to just be sitting in your DMs, and so you don't bother them, you don't answer them. Some of them are the ones that are the message request or whatever. So the thing is, all it takes is the wrong time to enter the matrix, and once you come in on the wrong time, you find yourself potentially open to what you feel you're not getting at home. So that's the thing we have to be mindful of when we are kind of navigating, because we all know if you're an avid scroller, it comes easy. You get off work, you wake up, you go to bed, you just you
Right.
scroll,
You scroll.
videos or whatever, but in every other couple of swipes, you see something to be like, you never know. So you got to really mind yourself and be like, yeah, you got to stay in that vein of being convinced. And I would even go as far as to say, you got to talk to yourself in that mirror.
Wow. That's good. Okay.
I am this person, right?
Right.
This
right.
is what I do. I practice this with my person because I chose them. They chose me. We love one another, and we're in commitment. You got to talk to yourself to stay convinced, because although someone may can initially be convinced of who they care about or love, it still doesn't mean that you can't be persuaded.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the whole point is. Think about it. How many times why do you think we see commercials? Like, I may have had Verizon forever, but every day you see T-Mobile, we're better over here. Come do this, that, and the other. Oh, here comes this one. Here comes the other line. Here comes Spectrum. Everybody has a gimmick to try to get you out from under where you are. So that's just nature. Even in the home market, cars, everywhere you go, somebody's trying to overthrow the next. So that's why I say we have to be careful how we can't get too confident with the way we move, and as long as we are part of this matrix, because it is volatile. It don't care about you. It's volatile. It's just it's a machine. It's a machine that shuffles people. That's what it does. It's a machine. So you have to be careful to say, okay, I'm on this machine, but I got to mind the way that I move, because it's not to be for granted, for sure.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say? That the idea, the paradigm of convinced has a duality? And what I mean by that is, not only am I convinced, but I am being convinced, and I am convincing my partner. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, for sure.
Because the reality is, if I'm in a relationship, then I have to remain engaged, in the relationship, in order to convince my partner that I'm still the one. I'm getting excited on this. I don't know why. I don't know why. Because this thing is clicking right now.
Yeah,
I am convinced, and I'm also convincing her that I'm still the one. And that's the same for each and every one of us. That's the same thing for her, that she is convinced that I'm the one, and she is convincing me that she is still the one. Come on, y'all. It don't get no better than that right there.
In other words, it's a ever evolving cell from the inside. It's a cell amongst the two of us. We're constantly reaffirming one another. This was a good purchase. This was a great investment for one another. And you can't get comfortable, can't take each other for granted like we do. We often feel like, because the person has displayed such loyalty and such good things of interest towards us, that I can go ahead on and kick back now. They love me, but that's the
wrong way.
Really talking to your mind, because you have to fight against that spirit of complacency, because that thing is always looming, and it messes with you, because it always makes people feel as though they need to look for a new and improved model. I'm telling you, it's always making you think, well, this is good, but what they got coming out in 2024?
Wow.
You're thinking to yourself, unless you are convincing yourself that I'm good where I am, there is always a new model being advertised.
Well,
So you got to say, that's okay. You put it like this: if you go to these car shows, you'll see some of these men that, it's 2023, but they'll tell you, man, they don't make no Fords like this no more. I love this, and they love their old vehicles. They got it all polished, look like it's brand new, and they don't care about nothing being new, because they have fallen in love with this era. And this era has served them well for what they need. So they are committed to it, right? So, and so it's the same thing as how we need to be in real time. There are all these different models and year makes and shapes and all this, but at the end of the day, are you okay with what you have? That's what it all Yeah.
But you know what, though, just to go back to that car analogy, you know the reason why they love those models that they used to drive, those older model cars, it's because of the experience that they had with
Tied
that
to them.
car. Come
Yeah,
on here.
tied to them. Yeah.
See, here's the reality. The reality is because of my experience with this particular vehicle, I always will love this. Because it reminds me of how good it was in terms of what it did in the day. And I'm good with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That helps me out. It's the same thing in our relationship. When I begin to remember and think about the relationships that I've had with you and where we have gone and what we have done, I remain convinced. And I am convincing her that I am still the same one that she had that previous experience with before. So I'm convinced and I'm persuading her. Not only am I persuading her, but I'm swaying her. I'm continuing to engage her. Oh my goodness. Watch this. This is my last point right here. This is my last point right here. I know. So here it is right here. Here it is right here. Not only that, but I am satisfying her as I am satisfied, and she is satisfying me as she is. Come on. It don't get no better than that right there. That's how you remain convinced.
Yes, and the other part that we left out about the whole concept of the older cars is that the main thing most car enthusiasts will tell you is what they're mostly in love with was how we say today, oh, they don't make them like that no more. Even we talk about women. We talk about our grandfathers, grandmothers, mothers. They'll say, oh, they don't make them like that. So people are saying, I'm in love with this version and this year and this make and model because it was a beautiful work of art and it's a rarity. So it's like, this is a rarity that you just don't see every day. And it's sad to say, as beautiful as the world has become with our kings and queens and other and such and so on, if I'm really honest, we have started, what we are starting to see now is a conveyor belt from a factory.
Wow.
Everybody looks the same.
That's
the weaves look the same. The BBLs look the same. Wow. The outfits are coming all from that place? I forget the name of that one place, but nonetheless, it's all looking. Everybody is looking like a clone.
Right.
There isn't. We're losing our individuality, and to kind of see the difference in anybody, you got to get super up close in their face to see the differences. But hair wise, figure wise, you have your small compartments of women, your medium, your thick, your extra thick, but everybody still looks the same on each level. So it's like looking like clones. And so now it's to the point where nothing really is standing out. Everybody is just kind of saying, I'm just equipping myself to be in the number so that I'm relevant. No one will say I'm not relevant. But there is something about being unique.
Unique all day.
We lost that art of standing on our uniqueness.
And being separate.
Like if we are unique, that we are outdated. But uniqueness is where it at. Is where it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about now. And now that we've already brought up the concepts of cornered, convinced, and the gray area. Let's talk about how do we confront these situations of feeling. Let's just start with convinced. If you're convinced, and I think we kind of ended off at that. When I think of convinced and I think of keeping in the mindset of being convinced, you have to be sure to show your person gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
You have to show them appreciation for them being who they are in this situation with me or whoever. It's like, I appreciate how you show up. I appreciate how unselfless we are, how unselfish we are. All of these things. I think it's important to let that person know that you still see them as unique and that you haven't put them in the box to take for granted. Because, everybody would be lying if they didn't say they didn't question every now and again if the person still sees them the same way. Like, have you taken for granted? Are we still exciting or this, that, and the other? Do you still think I'm great like you did when you first met me? We think about those things, but I think so we owe one another those conversations to reaffirm and reassure each other that you still, quote unquote, the apple of my eye, right? You still are the special person. You still are the person that I don't regret meeting or connecting with or being with or taking this walk of faith with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think, another thing with convinces again, and it's something I say on a regular basis. I say it all the time. I probably sound like a broken record, but don't get lazy in the relationship. Continue to convince them and allow yourself to be convinced by them that you guys are still the one, that you are still my person. I'm still your person. And in the process of this relationship, we are going to continually convince each other that we are each other's person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get lazy. Like I like to say, don't sit there and push the autopilot button in your relationship just because you got them now. You got them, you captured them. They can't go nowhere. You're not going nowhere. Now here we are. And now here we are, complacent.
Nothing's happening, right?
Nothing's happening. No spice, no spontaneity. Nothing's happening. It's just
that's not a good place to be. That's not a good place to be. Yeah,
and so in order for me to be a daily practitioner of continually engaging in my relationships, I got to convince you. How do I convince you? By taking care of myself, making sure that I'm in good health, keeping myself in shape, making sure my finances are in order, doing all of the things that I first started out doing when I first started dating you.
Yeah, wow.
Because that first date was a moment of convincing you that I'm your one.
Wow. All
so
right,
why not continue that practice? Why not continue that practice from the first date all the way up until the 500th date? You know what I'm saying? Continue to convince that person that you're the one by remaining active and engaged in your relationship.
Keeping it active.
If you get engaged doesn't mean that you disengage. I needed to say that right there because a lot of us get engaged, but we disengage.
Disengage.
What's that about? What's that about right there? Talk to me.
All right. So next up. So cornered. Okay. To me, what comes to mind when I think of someone, I guess if it's myself and I'm in something that I feel cornered, that I have to rethink, I feel like I made a decision too hasty and I'm not sure. What comes to mind is confrontation, communication.
Okay.
Meaning that you have to, I'm not saying be rude and mean about it, right? But find a wise way to approach your person and just kind of have the honest, because that honest conversation is hard, right? Because sometimes, once we hear it, we can't unhear it. So we have to learn to just kind of toughen up and get your heart off your sleeve and deal with it. But I would rather have the ugly conversation that either causes us to get it together and move forward in a better way, or causes us to disengage and be free. Wow. Either way, it brings resolution. But if you are just sitting there and you're filled with regret and you're feeling cornered, because when somebody feels cornered, what would they tell you about animals? Don't approach an animal that feels cornered because they're going to attack. So when a person feels cornered in a relationship, what they do with you will start to feel like attackish. It's going to feel irritable. It's going to feel, you're going to get a lot of attitude. You're going to get a lot of ill treatment because the person is not flowing in a naturally reciprocating way. They're feeling, I'm only doing this because I don't know why I did this. And so in most of those situations, their circle knows that they're cornered and you know nothing. Their friends know, their family know, everybody knows that they're rethinking their steps. And you find out on the back end when it's too late. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a fair thing to just have that conversation with your person if you are feeling that you are cornered or that and the other person doesn't think so. Because in most cases, when we have found who we quote unquote think we found, in our mind, we're just thinking, let's just keep on forward. Everything is hunky-dory. And the other person is like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Have that conversation. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so let's be honest about this. None of us really like confrontation. None of us really want to be faced with whatever the issue is. The tough conversation that we need, we have to have these conversations. And I don't know why we think that avoiding the issue will resolve the issue. No, it doesn't resolve the issue. It exasperates the issue, and it makes the issue worse, because by the time you get back around to it again, now you got some other stuff you done added to the whole mix, and it just makes it worse.
But it's hard. It just feels, if we're honest, sometimes it's just like it gives you another few nights of sleep to just say, you know what, I'm gonna go home and I'm doing it today. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wait. I'm just gonna hold on, eat. We had a good dinner, so I won't do it today. You know, and then you keep going on and you keep going on, and then next thing you know, you 6 months, a year later of dinners and things that's going on and trips, and nobody said anything about the elephant in the room. But there is residual damage happening outside. You know what I'm saying? We're not, because when somebody's feeling cornered, they're not performing, at least with you. You know what I'm saying? They're not, when they're feeling cornered, they're not really giving you forward progress. They're just kind of like existing. I
mean, if you think about the visual of being cornered, you got somebody who's standing on the outside of the corner, trapping the person inside the corner in the corner. So now we're at a point where either we're gonna fight, we're gonna kill each other.
Fight it all the way out.
You know what I'm saying? Or we're gonna have a real, God to honest conversation about what's happening between me and you. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that we're not talking about. Let's deal with the issue for what it is. And here, honestly, and listen, y'all, listen real good. And I think I might have said this before. I don't mind repeating it again. We need to be able to have honest, transparent conversations in safe places. So many of our relationships are not safe. They are landmines, literally waiting to go off when we open up our mouths to say what we need to say. And I'm not even surprised that some of us haven't said what we need to say, because if we open up our mouths to say what we need to say, boom, there it is in your face. It's a landmine that has gone off because that place is not prepared for a safe conversation for you to have. So you don't feel free to be able to say what you need to say. But we got, at some point in time, we gotta dig up these minds, dig up the minds. Okay, come on, let's get this area cleaned up so that we can sit down, come to the table, and reason together about our differences.
But that's the key. You said dig up. You said dig up. That's key. So we can walk, so we can move about freely. Because you can't move about freely if you got a relationship filled with minds.
You ever seen those movies where the guy steps on the mine and it clicks?
Eggs blow off.
It clicks. This is before he moves. He clicks. And everybody goes,
he knows it's too late now.
Lord, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because I don't step on his mind. And if I move either way, it's done. So I need somebody to help me. Can we help our partners clear the minds and clear the minefield so that we can have a conversation in a safe place?
How can someone prepare the table of a safe place? Like, how do people prepare the table for a safe place?
Honestly, and I'm going to be real frank and up front with you, you got to present yourself as vulnerable. And I know we said it earlier, but you have to, because they're not going to feel comfortable enough to say what they need to say until you open yourselves to the possibility of hearing what they have to say. You have to make that person feel secure that whatever they say is not going to cause you to be triggered. It's not going to cause you to explode with them. You know what I'm saying? And it really, honestly, it's going to take some time for you to get this person to feel comfortable enough with you to be able to talk about what's really needed to be talked about. You know, and I think so many of us have to do that work. We have to clear that area, clear that field, so that person feels comfortable and safe and secure enough to say what they need to say. Time is far past for us not to have the conversations that we need to have. Make your home a safe place. Make your relationship, your bedroom. Make your bedroom. Let me say it one more time. Make your bedroom a safe place. Stop weaponizing the stuff against your spouse and your partner. Stop weaponizing it. Say what?
They can't have toys in there?
Okay, all right.
Weapons. I'm just saying. Right. I know. Some weapons is okay, right? The ceiling, but no. But anyway. All right. So, the last one is the gray area. The gray area. So
Yeah, the gray area.
number one thing comes to mind with the gray area is identifying what it is. Like the person has to be honest. If you're in this situation where it doesn't feel, I guess, normal, and um, and if both people are involved and you're quote unquote calling it something, and if it doesn't feel comfortable, you got to identify what that feeling is and where it's coming from. Identify it first, and then you have to speak on it. Like you got to have that conversation to say,
Yeah.
if I'm honest, this feels like we're just treading water.
Right.
Is it going somewhere? Is it in the cards to go somewhere? Are you locked in? That's the number one. Are you locked into this? Or
Yeah.
are you just wading the water? Because again, the place holding is a vicious cycle. It really is. And it's like it's the harness of place holding is selfishness. Because it's like because you haven't reached your milestone, you're willing to hold everyone else back until you do. And that's really that's the catalyst for place holding. And I think I know something about place holding. But anyway, it's not.
Wait a minute. Do I hear a story coming?
I think if most people are honest, a lot of people in time and life have held others because of where they are or where they aren't.
Okay.
So it's like it's where you aren't there, and it's just kind of one of those things where you're just like, oh, all right, for now it's okay, and you go into it knowing that this is not it. And I think we got to be honest and stop teetering into things that we know that there is no life beyond the mountains with.
Right.
At least no one knows anything. No one can say something for sure, but you can at least come into it, like you're saying, convinced enough to say, this is it, and we're going to build upon this. But if you already know in your mind that this isn't it, don't even trust me. I've learned my lessons good from teetering with place holding.
Wow.
Place holding gets your whole place burned down. So believe me, you gotta learn. No place holding. But yeah, it's not a good thing. But I'm saying in life, but that's why I said if you notice it, you have to speak up on it.
Yeah.
You gotta say, you gotta question it, because at the end of the day, if the place holding goes on forever, it's just gonna look at you because you didn't say anything. But if you feel it, you have to say something about it, because sometimes people could be, sometimes it could be legit place holding, and sometimes the person is just kind of like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know if you wanted to move forward. You didn't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? People don't say anything, if nothing gets accomplished if you don't say anything. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That whole great thing in terms of not knowing whether or not we're going to move forward or not, or whether or not we're going to continue this relationship or not, is kind of crazy, because I think on some level, depending on the person, they will take you for granted. Making you think that you don't have any options in terms of moving forward or whatever like that.
And that's why you hear most people, even grown folks, like 40 and above, 35 and above, even most people find themselves today in so many situationships that are comfortable, right? But necessarily aren't proper. They're just comfortable. And then what ends up happening is on that pillow, one person or another is going to say, so what are we doing? That's the common question. And that's because you know that you're doing something, but this something is not progressing.
Right.
So this is not conducive to me. It was fun. Okay, it's all right. But ultimately, I don't want to drown and be stuck here. This isn't what I initially had envisioned for my life. In this way.
Right. I mean, who really wants to be stuck in something that you can't get out of, or stuck because somebody's not allowing you to move forward? They continue to hold you in this spot. Hey, what's funny? I think sometimes I hear about people being in relationships, not necessarily not married, but just in relationships. They've been in relationships for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 years, and no progress has been made. We haven't moved forward. We haven't even moved to the left or the right. We are literally still in the same spot that we were at in
Yeah.
2013.
It can happen. But you know what? The other important part that I would say that totally holds true for situations where the expectations have been communicated, right?
Okay.
Like clearly, most men or women know if they're with someone who the end goal is we want to be married, right? So in a case like that, if that's the case and the relationship has gone on, and then sometimes you have to have that shaking of the tree. Look, I don't want to be comfortable. I do love you, but I don't want to be comfortable forever,
Not like
right?
that. Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes we can just, if we're honest, it becomes comfortable, and you love the person and you're comfortable. But at the end of the day, what you don't want is that tree of resentment to grow. Then the person that they love you, but they're resenting it because they feel like you're not delivering what I ultimately desire, right?
Yeah.
So you have that piece, but then you have the piece of the long-term situations where people have never set the projection in the beginning.
Okay.
You've never discussed the other side. So if you never discussed the other side, but you've taken the trip, then you can't be mad at nobody but yourself.
That's
you
true.
understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
Sure.
No, you're right, because I think a lot of times what happens is we get in these long-term relationships, but there is no goal. There is no point to it in terms of what direction are we headed in? How are we advancing in terms of making progress to where we're going? If we're sitting here just marking time, standing still, and we're not going anywhere, what is the real point of this? Why are you in my life and why am I in your life? If we're just going to sit here and just not progress in our relationship. What'd you say, John?
I said in stew.
Oh, and Stu, yeah. No. I don't want to be engaged for 10 years, 12 years. I don't want to be in a relationship that's not going anywhere, 15, 19, 21 years going on. You know what I'm saying?
I'll never forget, and we're gonna let you guys go. I'll never forget really quick. I was at this church. Visiting this church, and I remember they were having the quote.
Is he still on? Charles, you still there?
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I frozen or you frozen?
I don't know what that was. That was just crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So really quick, I remember being in a service where they were talking about, long gone are the days of testimony service, right?
Oh yeah.
And I remember this lady. I'll never forget this lady. I used to see her always coming to the church. She would bring her grandkids. She brought her kids, and she never was with a man, but she always came. She was always there. And so I see this lady visiting. I'll never forget her. She testified and said, I just want to, thank God for this, that, and the other. And thank God for my boyfriend, Henry, of 20 years. And she said it she said it like, I don't care what y'all think. It was 20 years. And I remember doing like this on the road. I was like, she said, I think, thank God for my boyfriend of 20 years. And I was like, what in the world? That's some down for your man stuff. She even makes it look crazy. She was like, that's my man, 20 years in.
20 years.
But I was like, wow, I never forgot that. I was like, okay. So
yeah,
she
man.
She was proud of it. She was like, that's okay. He's my boyfriend. We live together.
For 20 years.
20
Lord
years.
Mercy. That's crazy, yo.
Yeah. So I'm just like, wow. But today was a good show, sir. Yes. You so crazy.
I'm sorry. I'm still cracking up about that, man. That is just crazy. Why are you with somebody for that long and they're not making no progress? That's so crazy.
Yeah, she said that. That was hilarious.
That is ridiculous. And for her to be in a church too and not have any better aspirations or desires for her own self.
But really quick, so you're gonna make the show drag. Listen,
I'm sorry. We gotta go, y'all. We gotta go.
Really quick, I'll say you gotta let's take it from the inside. Sometimes some women will say, listen, maybe my situation is not necessarily church approvable, right? But it works. Because the minute I transfer my relationship inside the church, it no longer works. That's how sometimes people think. So I'm not saying that's the good of how we can argue about that forever, but sometimes people feel like if I keep this over here, the longest the wheels are turning, we good. But as soon as you bring them up under the tent, and all of a sudden now Sister Tammy and Brother Adam, y'all come see me after the church, so we're going to talk about something. Now I know it's on your ties, and this thing I had the same address. You're like, oh, here we go.
Here we go.
It's like, this is like the same address in Bowie. Now, wait a minute. And if
y'all stop writing that address on the envelope, stop it.
active in the church like this. So now the relationship is stressed. Now the man is like, that pastor ain't gonna tell me what to do. And there you go. The relationship is over. So that's why she probably feel like, look, let my man Henry stay outside.
Right.
Well, yeah. That's crazy,
man.
Yeah. So listen, everybody, appreciate y'all for tuning in again this week. We're not gonna drag y'all out. We will say, and Adam, I'm telling you, I guess I'll say this on the screen. We know next week is the holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Next Thursday is the holiday. I will say this, y'all. Put it this way. At this point, it's 50-50 that we may do something either Wednesday or Friday. Depends on schedules. Or not, or if not, we may just skip to the following week. But I'll send a message if I'll either send a promo out if we're going to do it, or a message out if we're going to skip. But I'll let you guys know either way.
You know what will be good? I would love to hear from them what y'all want us to do. Because we're doing this for you guys. I mean, we're doing it for us, but we're also doing it for you guys. So if you believe that you want to hear from us on next, whether
Wednesday or Friday,
let us know. We'd love to hear from you in terms of your feedback, in terms of what we can do better. But definitely give us a shout out. Let us know what's up.
Yeah, just leave your comments and say Wednesday or Friday, and we will if y'all want it, we'll accommodate. That's why I figure Wednesday or Friday we can figure something out.
Yeah,
we got some really, really good, hot, steamy shows in the oven. Trust me when I tell you, they coming down the pipe. So all right, well, it looks like the consensus is being Wednesday. All right. So,
I see that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Well, we appreciate you all for tuning in to Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. Once again, it was another great week. We will see you guys next week. And remember, it's not going to be on Thanksgiving. If we do it, it'll be on Wednesday. But we'll send a promotion out letting you know in advance. So Wednesday, 4:30, same time. But wait a minute, Adam. Now, Wednesday, they're going to be there the whole day at work. I'm not going to be there the whole day at work that day.
Who? You talking about you or me?
You got to work a whole day Wednesday? We'll figure it out.
Probably, but I'm going to be home. I'm going to be home.
I would say maybe do it earlier today, but it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. We'll
talk about that later.
Y'all let us know. They made this one earlier too. But anyway, all right. Have a good evening, everyone. Talk to you guys next week. Take care. Be blessed and happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Everything. All right.